So if you've seen the last video, you would have known that I had not necessarily been in a great headspace because, well, a man is no longer with us, and that does not make me feel good, and if it makes anyone feel good, they're sickos. But I gotta keep on the grind, and I gotta keep pushing on, so this video will be for new viewers. A lot of my audience are new viewers. Anyway, regardless, I'm gonna be grading the fandoms that I've been in over the years. Now, for someone like me, I've been in a lot, and I'm still in a lot, and my mind is constantly shifting back and forth between everything. So, for the purposes of this video, we're only gonna go through a good handful. We're not gonna go through everything that I've been into, because some things are better left unsaid. Now that the long intro is out of the way, let's actually jump into the things that I've been into. I guess I'll start with my first love, wrestling. Wrestling is a mixed bag. On one hand, you've got the cool people in the community, and on the other hand, you've got the absolutely abysmal people that go out of their way to say the absolute worst things imaginable, and they do it for interaction baits and interaction farming on Twitter. I feel like that's a thing that can be applied to all fandoms, basically, or most of them. But for wrestling, it truly is a mixed bag. During my time on Twitter, I have witnessed so many things happen in the community. Just as one example, because if I listed all of them, we'd be here all day. There was a, at the time, 15-year-old kid who loved doing one thing, and that was flexing his abs on the internet. Because he was flexing his abs on the internet, people were, of course, going to criticize his body, because that's what happens when you post your body on the internet. And instead of just ignoring this criticism, he just kept lashing at it and kept trying to disprove it, and it was just his entire account at one point. What happened to him? Oh, nothing special. He just got outed for being a racist. But one thing I always love about the wrestling community is when something tragic happens, we all come in unity and we all stop hating on each other and stop the tribalism for a little bit and just, have each other's backs, even if it's for only that one moment. It should be for every moment, mind you, but at least it's for those moments. Overall, I'll give wrestling a C, which is basically mid. If you want a number score, that will be a 5 out of 10. My next fandom after wrestling was Sonic the Hedgehog, which is another fandom that I'm still active in to this very day. I want to say back then, like maybe 5 to 8 years ago, Sonic's fandom was seen as one of the most cringe fandoms of all time. But over the years, I definitely say it's gotten better. Also, absolutely no bias at all, but it's definitely 110% better than the Nintendo fandom's entirety, with again, absolutely no bias at all. Overall, I'll say the Sonic the Hedgehog fanbase, and I guess I could throw in Sega's fanbase for that too, shall get a 7 out of 10. Now, I feel like this next one is one that needs mentioning, because good lord, I had to throw a bad one in here. I'm, of course, referring to the Steven Universe fan base, dear God. Now, what do I think of the show? I think it's a good show with flaws. What do I think of the fandom? I think the fandom is a bad fandom with very, very few good parts. That fandom, honestly, can have an entire video separate, just dedicated towards how absolutely bad it is, and I would know because I was in the thick of it with the Steven Universe Amino. Yeah, you remember Amino, that app where people just kept venting to one another and having these overly dramatic role plays and that of the sort? The Steven Universe community? That thing is an abomination. Because I do actually want to save that topic for a later video, I will say one thing. I was invited to a private Steven Universe Amino through the public one, and man, that private one is the topic of one of my future videos for sure. That thing was wild. Overall, that fandom is like a 2 out of 10. That fandom is absolutely terrible, and I'm sorry to all the good people in it, because you get overshadowed by the bad people, good lord. One fandom I've recently been allocated with is the Marvel Comics fandom, or just the Marvel fandom in general. I've also bidded the DC fandom, but nowhere near as much as the Marvel fandom. Now, what I said about Steven Universe with it being a good show but having a bad fandom, I feel like for Marvel, it's kind of the opposite for right now, at least. The Marvel Cinematic Universe lately has been kind of meh. And as for the comics, they've also been quite a bit of hit or miss with me personally. Like, if we're just comparing Spider-Man alone, you've got Miles, which is great, and then you have Peter, and Peter is... Oh dear God, what did they do to you?
You? Me?
You think this is funny?
In a cosmic sort of way, yes.
Well, Mr. Funny Man, is this how you get your sick kicks?
What? It's just an ordinary crabby... Oh my goodness! Squidward!
That is not my Peter Parker. Hashtag not my Peter Parker. Good lord. As for the fanbase itself, it's been doing its best with the crumbs that it's literally being given right now. I'd say the fan base overall gets a 8 out of 10. Yeah, it's really not that bad for a fan base that is currently in the ruts right now. I just used right now. Oh my god, that is not proper grammar. Moving on, the final fan base that I will be talking about for this video is the NBA fan base. Oh boy, where do I begin? So I joined the NBA fan base rather recently. I joined it last year in October. And for me, as someone who was at the time, and this is going to get a little bit deep here, but at the time I was kind of suffering from an identity crisis, and I needed something new to kind of rejuvenate my systems. Getting into the NBA was something that kind of helped me with that, and for that I'm forever grateful. But as for the fan base itself, let's start with my team first. I live in Ohio. That is pretty bad, isn't it? But anyway, I live in Ohio, and therefore my team is the Cleveland Cavaliers that I have a strong fandom for. As for its actual fan base, well, it's good in a lot of places, and then it's bad in a lot of places. It basically comes down to whether or not if the person that you're talking to knows ball. Because if they don't know ball, things can get ugly pretty fast. For example, if a Cav struggles literally one night, all of a sudden, oh my god, we gotta trade them, we gotta trade them, oh no, we gotta trade them, we gotta get rid of them, athletes slump. That is not rocket science. That is literally a thing that happens with athletes, and it's been happening with athletes ever since sports were things. There are 82 games in an NBA season. It is literally inevitable that in one of those 82 games, they are going to not perform to the best of their ability. Just as a prime example here, Donovan Mitchell, one of the greatest Cavs of all time, or at the very least, he's getting to that point, and it's only been one season. He had a 71-point performance to start out 2023 for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But do you know what happened before he had that 71-point explosion? He was slumping. Like really hard. Look at these numbers, man. This is not good. Athletes are bound to do that. Athletes slump all the time, and in that case, it was no exception. You probably shouldn't be a sports fan if you're not gonna have any patience. Yep, that will get some bad people on me, but it's how I feel. I feel like you need patience in order to be a sports fan, because if you don't have it, whoa, especially if your team is rebuilding, whoa. What I said about the Cavs basically goes towards the entire NBA fan base itself. People are comparing their own team's players, even though this is a team sport. Sometimes it's for reasonable reasons, and other times it's for literally no reason at all. And don't even get me started on the GOAT debates, because that will tear me apart. That is what that will do. That will tear me apart. Overall, I'm gonna give the NBA fan base a 6 out of 10. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. It's slightly above average. Because, yes, there are a lot of people who say a lot of dumb crap in the NBA fan base, but at the very least, I'm not having wild IWC encounters with 15-year-olds flexing their abs or anything like that. This video has gone on for long enough. If you would like to see a part 2 to this, because, yeah, I've been in that many fandoms, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. Also, don't forget to do the 3 holy grails of YouTube: like, comment, and subscribe, and also follow me on my socials. I haven't really promoted my socials at all, but there's my socials. Go ahead and follow me, or don't. It's entirely up to you. See you later. Bye! The end card is going to be incredibly short because I just know that finding all the images for this is going to take a long time. If you see the last video, you would have known that, judging from the tone of my voice, obviously, I wasn't necessarily feeling good about what had happened. The next day, WWE SmackDown was an entire tribute show for Bray Wyatt, and I think it was a beautiful show for him. And after my friend left, I may or may not have cried for, like, a good half an hour. And yeah, I'm still not feeling great, but I'm gonna keep going through life, and I'm gonna keep doing this YouTube thing for however long I feel like doing it, because that's what Bray would want. And, you know, follow the buzzards.